So, what is today's topic of discussion?
I wanted to see what's your progress in Elden Ring to start it out.
Well, I've made it to the capital so far, and the game it's tremendous for a Souls game, for anything really. I mean, this is really untapped territory. I mean, I've been playing since Dark Souls 1. You've been playing since Dark Souls 1 as
Demon
well?
Souls.
Demon Soul, okay. A little bit longer than me.
Yeah,
And
like 2010. I think it was 6 months after Demon Souls was released. I think it was on discount at Walmart actually.
okay, so not a ton longer than me, but still longer.
Yeah, I found out through a Game Informer magazine. It was a satire article.
I really, me personally, I've been really picky about the armor sets and the weapons and their move sets. The Ashes of War are fantastic. I thought that was going to be overcomplicated and I would never figure it out, but it's as simple as can be. You're just changing up your R2 basically, or your special attack. And I think Rivers of Blood is still the one most people gripe about being so overused. And I believe you get that from Malenia, right? And it's a katana, but you can take the Ash of War off of it, which is like that really spammy bleed thing. It's crazy. And I've been hit with like what is it called? The Scarlet Rot, like just a tidal wave of the cloud, the gas for the Scarlet Rot. That I didn't even know how to dodge that when a host hit me with that one time. Like, are you serious? It's just the game's overwhelming. I've kind of taken a step back from it, given it a little bit of time to breathe but I'm around the capital, around level 100. I mean, I'm still using scimitar and swordsman cloak. My scimitar is like plus 20.
Okay. And what's your favorite boss so far?
Let's say Radagon or Radon.
Okay, I was about to say if you're into comic, like Radagon's like the final boss fight.
Radon, sorry.
Yeah, Radon.
That was just that arena is so huge. It reminded me of a Dark Eater Midir in Dark Souls 3.
Really?
You know, a little bit with just how huge that arena is, but you're just absolutely trapped in there with him.
I was actually expecting you to say Sleep Night Gale because that's what it reminds me of more.
Okay, yeah. Very much like,
yeah.
I don't know, the arrows he was shooting with those black holes, and just I was only able to beat him because I just had so many summons. You just keep throwing all the summons at him until he just gets whittled down, which is supposed to. That's how the fight works, but it's something we haven't seen before. I don't think they've never done that before in any of the previous titles, have they?
It's a pretty unique boss. I think I can't really compare it to anything else, really.
Yeah.
What was your favorite move from him?
I'm gonna have to say the black hole stuff. Whenever he starts using those like huge AOE attacks and all that, I love it. And that's because I mean, Souls games are supposed to be difficult,
right?
And what would be the point if it wasn't? You know,
exactly. And sometimes I make it a mission whenever I play a simpler game. Let's say maybe like Snake Pass or Loco Roco. I like to try to organically make the game more difficult by either, games like Loco Roco and Snake Pass are stage based games. So I basically, what I set for myself is get 100% if possible before I move on to the next level.
Yeah, I've been like that in a couple games. In 7 Days to Die, which I've been doing a couple playthroughs recently, it's just been a one life playthrough. Because I've been watching Glock 9 on YouTube. Great content creator. He definitely doesn't need a plug from me though. But
is that like some kind of gun showcase channel?
No, he's a YouTuber. He plays 7 Days to Die, and he's just, I feel like he's so good at it. He does like these insane challenge playthroughs, and they're always like, all right, I'm only going to do one life on this. And he's playing like Darkness Falls or something, some crazy mod like that. Like, some of the playthroughs were short-lived because he stepped on a landmine. I believe that was how his first Darkness Falls playthrough went. Like, third episode, he stepped on a landmine, and that was just it. Like, end of the series right there. And he's like, yeah, this is a one life. I mean, that's... And I think he's done a more recent Darkness Falls playthrough. I don't think he's died yet, though. And Darkness Falls is an incredibly difficult mod. Trust me, I've seen it. It's insane. There's like demons throwing huge fireballs that explode and blow up everything around you.
Wow.
It's absolutely mental. And I just, back to the difficulty, thing. It's, again, what's the point if it's not difficult?
Yeah, one thing that I find very intriguing is whenever I mention difficulty to people like on Facebook or Reddit, they can't seem to really give me an answer, a very straight answer. I ask them because they'll talk about difficulty like, oh, difficulty this, Dark Souls difficult, what game is more difficult, and I'll ask them, I'm like, well, what's difficult based on, what are you basing this difficulty on? And they just kind of, they either do not respond, or they just kind of give me a really like, what the heck are you talking about kind of response.
Okay, well, I can answer that as if you'd asked me the question. So I believe Dark Souls is difficult because it's a really well-made game. All of the bosses have patterns and move sets, and you need to kind of watch them, watch how they're moving, and they have tells. All right, he's doing a wind-up for his spinning halberd attack or something. And so the moveset memorization is just patterns with Dark Souls, but with something like, let's say, Doom Eternal, because I recently did a playthrough of that recently enough on Nightmare, and that game's difficult just because of you're gonna die quick. You got to keep moving. You got to keep juggling what grenade type you're shooting. If you're shooting regular frags, or if you're shooting the ice grenades, you need to keep track of your ammo because you don't hold much ammo in Doom Eternal. Not like in 2016, at least. And it's not so much about pattern memorization as it is you need to keep circle strafing around your little arena and keep all the enemies at bay, and you need to be focusing the big guys, and that's what makes that game difficult, as juxtaposed to something like Souls-like games.
So I mean, with Doom, I imagine you have to know the level design very well and the enemy behavior, right? Like, you just can't go in there and just assume where everything's at, what the enemies are going to do. You got to practice at it and learn how everything works, basically, to get a
pretty much. I've done several playthroughs, and I eventually just worked my way up to where I was playing on Nightmare, and I was very proud of myself. I wanted to get to be able to do an Ultra Nightmare run, where if you die, the game deletes your save file. There is no checkpoint, no start of the game. I just couldn't do it. Tried it so many times, tried it on stream, tried it off stream. And as many times as I attempt something off on stream, I'll attempt it 10,000 more times off stream. Okay. So I've done it a lot, and Well, on higher difficulties, higher tier demon spawn, and like say you're playing on Hurt Me Plenty, I think is the easiest. No, I don't even know what the lower skill difficulty tiers are called in Doom Eternal. I'm sorry, because I mean UV ultra violence is like the normal difficulty, I believe, and that was always where I started out in Doom, because previously Nightmare was just so intimidating. Like in the original Doom, demons would respawn unless you jibbed them, I think. Or was that a Duke Nukem thing? I think I beat Duke Nukem on the hardest difficulty too, or second hardest. I don't remember.
Which Duke Nukem?
The original, the good one. The good one, trust me.
The only good one?
The only good one.
You know, it's funny because I've been here lately. What I like to do is whenever I go on Facebook, Reddit, I like to, throw out a topic. I don't necessarily have to agree with it. I mean, but I'll throw out something like, what's more difficult, Dark Souls or Sekiro? Even though it's a very common question, I like to approach the twist by responding to the comments. And so someone's like, "Oh, Sekiro is more difficult," and I'll say, "How so?" And they're like, "Oh, well, more skills involved." And I'm like, "Yeah, but can you explain how that works?" And they're like, "Well, see, in Dark Souls you can use OP items." I'm like, "Oh, well, I mean, you're thinking about a full throttle perspective. I mean, yeah, I mean, of course it's going to be easier if you just use all the exploits that's been discovered and everything like that. But what about just the hardcore experience of not knowing how to use everything? Because you can't go in, you don't, if you just buy Dark Souls and have no information about how it works, I mean, it's going to take you a while.
Took me 2 months.
Yeah.
Took me 2 months to get past the red Drake on that bridge. 2 whole months when I first started playing. Jesus Christ.
Mm-hmm.
And I sat down at one point because I was so frustrated. I couldn't do anything in the game. I sat down, I watched Vati Vidya, I watched Pete Peverson, Ouroboros the Ninja, and they were just insane. Then I discovered Only Afro and the memes, the meme lord. Only Afro is the reason there are so many memes surrounding Dark Souls, and no one is going to convince me otherwise.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think the only person I ever watched was Rurikhan. I didn't watch him for guides or anything like that. I just like listening to him talk about the game. But he helped me. He helped convince me by a few games that I wasn't interested in. He didn't convince me to buy Demon Souls at first, but he did convince me to buy Last of Us. Just the way he was just playing the game and talking about it. But going back, do you think it's fair to judge the difficulty in Dark Souls when you go on YouTube, look up the most OP stuff, and just run through the game in a day?
Oh, hell no. That's cheating. I don't know what else to call it.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people. Here's one thing: a lot of people say, like, "Oh, it's in the game. If it's in the game, it's not cheating." But the fact that you're using an external source to become OP and not discover discover that weakness for yourself, it technically is cheating.
Yeah, that's how I look at it, at least.
There is a guy who reviewed Sekiro. I think what was his name? I can't even remember his name. But he used a cheat in Sekiro to slow everything down, and he beat Sekiro by just slowing down boss fights, and he beat the game in like maybe a few days, or maybe even one day. And he thought he legitimately beat the game, and he reviewed it that way, and he said he felt fine. And it's just the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard of.
That is pathetic.
Yeah.
And then you've got the streamers out there. For the life of me, I can't remember the name of the guy who beat Dark Souls. What was it, Dark Souls 3 with a friggin' bagel somehow or something?
Mm-hmm.
He had like a loaf of bread or something. And then the Guitar Hero controller, I think it was the same person who did that. Like you have the absolute madmen out there like Distortion 2, who I could be wrong on this, but I believe is the current world record holder for speedrunning Elden Ring with a time underneath like 2 minutes. Again, he used exploits falling through like the world, because apparently Elden Ring's the world collision is just non-existent if you know what you're doing.
Have you
But
run into any problems with Elden Ring, like bugs and glitches, like on of course accident?
No, because I haven't gone looking for them.
I found a few, obviously on accident, when I was fighting the tree sentinel. Well, this actually wasn't a glitch, it was just me losing connection, but when it lost connection, it cut out right before the tree sentinel was about to hit me. So it looks really funny. I actually have a clip of it on the channel. And one actual glitch is when I got off torrent. This is a very common one, and you just kind of sit there in the air. Or no, you try to get on torrent and he doesn't spawn and you sit in the air. And what I did was I closed and restarted the game, and his model just sat there on the ground. He was just standing there, and he didn't disappear until I called him again.
Okay, wait. No, I did discover a couple bugs like that. Because at the time when I first got Elden Ring, I was moving to a new place and didn't have internet set up quite yet. Can you still hear me fine?
Yeah.
Okay. But I didn't quite have internet set up yet, so I just had this copy of the game that a buddy had sent me. It was like the perfect storm of me just being able to play. Just, this is the game. This is what they made with no updates whatsoever. Everybody else is playing an updated version, except for me. And I made it to where you fight the 3 invaders in front of the giant jar guy.
Mm-hmm.
And he bugged out or something. I smacked him, like you'd smack him and he would stand up. You would see his limbs. Like, because he's got these really long, lanky limbs. But you kind of push him off. I pushed him off the cliff, and then I exited game, came back in, and then he was like dead, leaning over on his back with his limbs actually showing out, and you could walk through him at that point. So that was one, but I didn't really. I mean, there was nothing else. I mean, I killed the invaders, the red summons.
Sorry, I'm jumping all over topics here, but I'm just kind of saying what's ever on my mind. But feel free to jump back whenever you want. What boss do you think was the worst so far?
All right, I'm gonna say the statue, the cat statues in the dungeons, because I've seen them multiple times and they're just kind of boring, and they can be overwhelming unless you summon your spirits or something. So I'm gonna say them.
Really?
And just because you're fighting like multiple of them and they can be a little annoying.
Yeah, I really like how freaky they look, but their moveset definitely could use work. And they do get reused a few times, but they try that. You can tell that they're just trying to experiment, and sometimes it's good and sometimes it's bad. I don't like the little imps you had to fight around.
Oh God, I hate those.
That wasn't well developed, in my opinion.
Yeah, just because they're kind of hard to like track, you know, if you're locked on to them.
Right.
And I'll play unlocked a good bit, but I do want to lock on enemies to hit them too. Right. And it would be nice if they could kind of work on that to make them where they're not so gremlin moveset. I mean, they just fly all over the place.
Yeah, you'll notice that all in random places in Elden Ring where there's like a duo fight or multiple enemies, and it just does not work well like we've seen in the previous titles. It's almost like they just threw 2 enemies together and then they didn't think anything else of it.
Yeah.
I think the only fight that seemed like it worked as a duo fight was the two crystallians, where you have two pillars, and the only reason why it works is because you got one that shoots sorcery and you got one that's got a spear, and he couldn't.
Ah, yes. But those, um, they were easy enough for me to defeat just because the one with the spear, you can parry them, and then that'll like, I guess it breaks their armor, their actual crystal structure, and then you can just absolutely annihilate them.
I
They're
think you
easy
gotta
after that.
charge attack them for their crystals to break.
I would just parry them.
Well, see,
But again, running buckler and scimitar since the start of the game, 100 hours in at this point.
well, you see, I parried them too. However, whenever I parried and repaused, he would never break. He would only ever break when I charged attack.
Hmm.
Because I tried that. I was like parrying him for like 10 times in a row and nothing was happening. But once I charged attack, he eventually broke.
Maybe I'll have to go back and try and fight him again at some point. I did start another character that I think is like just fresh out the gate. Still not sure what I'm gonna do with her. I think I just called her like Crimson or something, and she looks like what's the name of the NPC with the missing arm? Melina? No, that's not Melina. Millicent. She looks kind of like Millicent when you first meet her.
Okay, I thought that was Melania.
Millicent's an interesting NPC. I can't wait to see the rest of her story. Although being Elden Ring, it's probably not happy.
I don't know. I haven't finished a quest yet. I played around with maybe one, and then I just kind of stopped and just moved on.
I got real disappointed when I screwed up what the Deathbed Maidens quest when you finally meet her again and you're like, oh, she murdered D or whatever. She's like, well, if you're still angry about that, just kill me now. And she told me to, so I did without hesitation. Just murder in cold blood. Didn't even see what the other option was. And then after I'd done it and D's armor dropped and a sword, and I looked at the wiki and I'm like, okay, what was the alternative? What would have happened if I said, oh, I'm not mad about that? And then discovered, oh, well, shit, I probably shouldn't have done that.
I really like. I wish the Volcanic Manor quests were. I wish there was more of those. I think you only kill like 3 people and then it moves on. I really wish they had a lot more of those.
Well, they do get, they are pretty far widespread out. And, you're not able to just go do all of them right off the bat.
Right.
But maybe they didn't want to do more than 3 because they felt like it would have been boring. I mean, because there's just so much to experience in that game.
Oh yeah. And also the hidden passage in Volcanic Manor was also really cool. With the whole
Oh,
thing.
yeah. What's her name?
I can't remember.
Zariah?
I guess.
God,
And
might not even be Zariah.
I think
I'm pretty sure it started with a Z.
the Dung Eater was pretty cool.
See, I haven't done any more of his quests. He's just sitting at the place. Like leave me be. The peace kept here by the whatever is the only thing keeping you alive way. I want to mess him up. I'm like, because the spirit attunement girl, she was okay. That was a fun quest. That was really interesting to see how she interacted with the blacksmith, because I don't think that's something we've really seen previously. NPCs interacting amongst themselves and just right there like that, where she becomes the one who does all your upgrades for your spirits. So that was really cool and interesting. And, the blacksmith starts to look at her almost like a daughter.
Right. How do you feel about how you get to unlock weapon upgrade material? Like the smithing stones.
I mean, it's pretty standard Dark Souls fare. They're called smithing stones and then titanite shards. Same thing.
Right.
I mean, even the models in game, if you actually look at the pictures, they look exactly like the Dark Souls one, except they're more bronze colored
Right, exactly.
instead of titanite, which was just straight black.
Do you think their locations are, appropriate?
As far as I've played, you can kind of tell that everything's meant to like level up with you with your weapons. If you're at a certain level and you're in a certain place, all right, well, here's the upgrade materials as you go along. You get a few more levels, and here are the upgrade materials for your weapon to level up too. But you don't get a whole lot of them off the bat, so they're a little stingy. But for the most part, it works.
Yeah.
It works. It helps to balance the game. It's not like in Dark Souls 1 where as soon as you come back from the asylum, you can just go to the the Undead Burg, whatever, find that blacksmith down there.
Yeah.
And take a rapier and upgrade it to a plus 10 chaos rapier at level 5 or whatever, and then you got the highest crit damage weapon in the game. As far as I know, you can't do that in Elden Ring. There probably is a way. I just don't know how to do it, and I'm not going to look at how to do it until I've put several hundred more hours into the game, probably.
Right. God, I think I'm up to 300 hours right now.
You're a good bit ahead of me. Like I said, I'm a little over 100 at this point.
And right now, I'm at the point where I'm wanting to play a little bit of Elden Ring, but then I want to try other games that are currently coming out. Like Kiwi is available for PlayStation Plus, and I've always wanted to play that. So I've actually been playing that with my wife. We've been having a blast with it.
Really? I've been playing Wasteland 2, and I have overlooked this game for so long. It's a game I've known of, I'll say, not known about. But I started reading some of the reviews to it and looking at what people were saying about the game. And I'm like, everyone was saying like this is Fallout New Vegas 2.0 or something. And the game is just so reminiscent to like Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas, especially because apparently the first Wasteland game made like 20 years ago is what inspired Fallout. I think the first Wasteland came out in like the 80s. And
Wasteland 3?
Wasteland 2.
Wasteland 2
is what I've been playing. The first Wasteland came out in like 80s or something, from what I understand. Very basic game.
Oh, so it's kind of like a classic Fallout.
Yeah, it's an RPG. It's like a top-down RPG, but you position your troops. You can have like a squad of up to 7, I think. I've only got 6 members, and you can just do whatever. Just do absolutely anything. If you want to be a crazy crack smoking psychopath, you can just go around murder everyone and whatever. There's no morality system in the game. How Fallout 3 had that morality. Oh, you did something good. Here's some brownie points. Or you did something bad. That was a bad thing. You shouldn't have done that. You're a bad boy. None of that. I mean, people will defend themselves and try to kill you. And it's not a good idea to screw with certain people, but and you'll piss off NPCs and they won't want anything to do with you. So there are definitely consequences to your actions. But I mean, I was able to, I accidentally nuked myself. I was like, they wouldn't just let me. Yes, they will. You can. And I did.
Okay, well, I'll look out for that one. I don't know if it's on PlayStation Plus or not, but I'll definitely have to keep an eye for it.
I got it on sale. It was like $8 last weekend.
Oh. Have you a game that they just announced is called Frogun? It's actually designed to look like a PS1 game. It's classic platforming. Kind of looks like Ape Escape a little bit. I don't know too many details about the gameplay, but it looks really interesting if you like classic PS1 games.
Frogun.
Yeah.
I've been keeping an eye out on the boomer shooter games. You know, like the ones that are like inspired by classic shooters like Duke Nukem
Mm-hmm.
and Doom, especially, and Quake and Half-Life, because they just don't make them like they used to. And there are a couple things that have my Turbo Overkill looks fantastic. I can't wait to get my hands on that at some point in the future, maybe.
One thing I really miss about old games is back when gravities were not a huge priority, they focused on level design more. And now that
Yes.
graphics are such a high demand, you see a significant drop in level design. And it's
You really do.
in my opinion.
It was like, okay, yes, this map's beautiful, but it's a circle.
Yeah.
It's a friggin' circle or some crap like
It's like
that.
how people complain about the graphics in Elden Ring. I'm like, hey man, look how incredible this design is. Look at the aesthetics, look at the style.
People complain about the graphics in Elden Ring.
Yeah.
Why? The game's gorgeous.
I know. They're like, oh, it doesn't look like Red Dead Redemption 2.
That's because it's not fucking Red Dead Redemption 2.
Mm-hmm. I'm sorry that a horse's testicles don't shrink in the cold.
Yeah. Go play Red Dead Redemption 2 if you want to play Red Dead Redemption 2.
You know, I always just hear about either the story or just the stupid details like that. I never hear anything about the gameplay in Red Dead Redemption 2. That's it.
Yeah. And then you've always got the people that are like, the game's too difficult, it needs an easy mode. Well, use all the tools at your disposal in the game. That's how you make it easy mode. Always play with a summon or, just whatever.
You want easy mode? Go on YouTube, look up OP builds, or just watch a YouTube playthrough. There you go.
Yeah, one thing I was kind of messing around with recently. I wanted to know if they still had that soft cap for your levels at 50. So in previous titles, it was just about pointless to go past 50 in strength or something if you're doing like a strength build. Mm-hmm. And it is pretty much the same in Elden Ring. I think I put like 62 points in the decks just to test it out, and it was the diminishing returns were insane. I was doing like 12 extra points of damage with another 12 points in the decks, essentially.
Yeah, the one thing that motivated me to use the jumping mechanic is that I found out that you actually can do a little bit more damage using the jumping mechanic. And so that's what got me to start using it in boss fights.
Yeah, I mean, there are some things you just can't roll through in Elden Ring, so you have to jump over them. And it's just another thing that makes the game a little bit more trying. Well, maybe that's not the right word for it. It's an added element to the gameplay.
What kind of boss move you couldn't roll through exactly?
I can't remember, but maybe not roll through. You might be able to roll through them, but there are some moves that are easier to jump over than roll through. That's probably the way to put that.
The only thing I can think of is Godfrey. He's got this attack where he slams his foot into the ground and roots come up. I find myself getting caught on rolls more than jumping on that attack. Definitely.
Oh, what was it? The guy who was doing the grafting, Godric, the grafted. Yeah, I think it was the flame stuff. Hard to roll through whenever he would do like the fire attacks with the dragon's arm. It was easier to jump over those than roll through them. For me, at least, I think. It's been a little bit since I played Elden Ring.
Oh, okay. most of his fire attacks are actually, I found them to be pretty generous for iframe wise, except for one particular flame attack where it's just kind of, I think it's more freestyle, and
Oh yeah,
his
he starts
flames
doing that
everywhere.
barrage stuff.
But
Yeah.
when he does his flame sweep attack, you can basically just run right up to him, and you got like several seconds to hit him, and then you just run back away, and then he's got this gravel scoop attack, and all you gotta do is just walk up to him in the same situation. So it's just really the only problematic flame attack is the one where he's just freestyling it basically.
And arrows. Okay. I want to talk about bows and kind of abusing them, abusing arrow, because bows have always been insanely overpowered in Souls games. It's so easy to, it makes certain things trivial. Just being able to sit back and poison the crap out of enemies and things like that. What are your thoughts on that? Because I've done it quite a bit.
You're asking if I've done it or
No, I mean, so using the bows to cheese more difficult enemies. Like I think what is it, the Golden Rider at the start of the game? I think I just poisoned arrowed him to death and then used a bunch of bleed arrows on him too to beat him at like level 30.
I'm not too crazy about doing it on boss fights, but when it comes to Black Phantoms, I never really feel bad about them.
Well, in a boss fight, it's hard to use arrows, but to get like an annoying enemy down, like let's say you got more of a, I guess it would be considered a champion tier enemy, one that's a lot tougher than the other enemies around, but is not a boss. Like those tigers with the blades on them and stuff. I guess they're chimeras.
The ones with the blades on their elbows.
Yeah, like I would consider that more of a like champion tier enemy. Yeah, is just supposed to like the fodder enemies.
I have less than 1 minute on this this meeting. So I'm gonna stop it right here. If you want to, I can call you back on the PlayStation. But unfortunately, I have like the free trial, which is why I got a time limit.
Oh, I didn't realize. Okay. Yeah. Well, so I guess this is the end of the podcast.
Yeah, basically. I'm still working stuff out to make podcasts longer, but for right now, we'll have to end right here.
All right. Well, I've been Anarchy Dying.